So, hello, if you're here, and if you're watching this later. I've had a bit of a busy time. I've been in the hospital all weekend with my partner who hurt his head and his broke his clavicle. Um, so um, I haven't had time to prepare in the usual way, but I really have been drawn to look at, I mean, the transit of the big planets is really interesting, and we have looked at that before because I think we looked at that before they changed signs, but I'm particularly interested in Uranus. Uranus was transiting the star Algol, which is the eye of Medusa, the last couple of months. And Algol is like 26, 27 degrees of Taurus. And I got very tuned into this. I felt it as like a stargate of cosmic waters and new coding coming through to heal the divine feminine, but the most kind of rejected, agitated, maybe raging, yeah, really like parts of the human collective that are really in need of healing. And it felt like this became possible with Uranus as the planet of revolutionary change, turning everything upside down. Like Uranus is the trickster energy in planetary terms. Uranus maybe in Mercury for sure as well. So yeah, so feeling that, and then a few degrees on is the Pleiades. So this is, the stars are obviously further out than our solar system, but if you looked at this part of the zodiac, then you would see these stars further out. And so Uranus is currently transiting the Pleiades. So those of us who've been into astrology for a long time might remember astrologers like Barbara Marciniak and Barbara Hand Clow. I used to absolutely follow loads of stuff they did. And in those early days, I mean, I think this was even my late 20s, so like 30 years ago, there was this book, about the codes of the Pleiades helping us humans. And the Pleiades is known as the great central sun. In many teachings, our sun is like an eighth sun of the Pleiades. So we are actually parts in consciousness of the star system. And I remember doing all these exercises of the dolphin light body. And it did feel like they really kind of shifted me then. It's like quite weird to think back like 30 years and just kind of at the beginning, in a way, of my journey with astrology that came quite late in my life. Well, in my 20s, my late 20s. So, so I was really curious, like, what is Uranus gonna do? Because as Uranus is crossing, these stargates are kind of opening, and um, and I'm really interested in what is coming through, an invitation to explore what is coming through. That's what this is today. So I'm going to look at the astrology and then I think, create a kind of space where we can just actually all tune in experientially and see what kind of comes to us. Maybe we have our own knowledge, our own wisdom of these Pleiades stars. There might be some artwork that includes them, you never know. And yeah, just opening to what this transmission might mean for us. So I know, like I've been, when you see all these outer planets, they represent collective change, and when they're all hitting new signs of the zodiac, and Uranus is on the cusp of going into Gemini, so it's still in the last degrees of Taurus. There's big collective changes that are going to happen, and these new energies, as the planetary energies shift, will bring big changes. And I'm really feeling like that I'm going through some really big changes. I always feel like I'm saying that, but I feel like, yeah, there's a kind of almost like being slapped in the face with certain things. This, you cannot keep doing this anymore. This pattern has to change now. And I've really felt the intensity of that. And I do have some powerful personal planetary transits to this, but most of us will have some connection with these changes in our own charts. But yeah, it's like, what are these big changes happening? You can kind of predict them through the energies, but I always like to hear the actual stories of what's going on for people. Okay, so I'm going to just share the chart for today and just point out a few key things here. Okay, so what we're going to focus on mainly is Uranus is here in the seventh house. But it doesn't matter about the houses actually, because it'd be different in different countries. But Uranus is there perched on the edge of Taurus, and 28 degrees is the beginning of the Pleiades. And as I mentioned, Algol is 26, 27 degrees. So we do have this interplay as well between, Algol, the most rejected parts of the divine feminine, and then this like love, this healing consciousness coming through the Pleiades. It almost feels to support that deeper change that's open through the Uranus transit of Algol. And here we have Venus is following just behind Uranus. So in the next week, Venus is going to cross Algol and cross the Pleiades, catch up to Uranus, and that's going to be a really healing time. So it's a really nice time this week to plan, um, you know, stuff um, and plan some healing maybe. I've actually done that today. I'm going to go for some sound healing around a specific thing that's come up, which I feel connected with Algol transit. So yeah, it's a good time to look at your own healing and what's going on there. Okay, so that's that. Then we've got Pluto here, 3 degrees Aquarius, and opposing that is Mercury, and Pluto is retrograde at the moment. So Pluto is in the 41st gene key. This is all about new coding. It's the start code on the 41. It's about the emanations of creation. And then opposite, we have yeah, we have Mercury there. So let me just check where. So Mercury's at 4 degrees Leo, which is 31 line 3. So what we have here is this kind of leadership of the 31 opposing Pluto. So if there's parts of your life where you are not really stepping into your power, or you are, which is very much connected perhaps with the Algol divine feminine, then there can be big communication issues going on. And that's certainly what I've experienced this weekend. My Venus is coming at 90 degrees to this. So, yeah, but whatever you have personally attached to it, there's this energy about of like powerful but miscommunications as well. And there's a lot going on in the media about, bands at Glastonbury, kind of standing up against the war and in the Middle East and stuff. And so there's a lot of controversial things going on right now around Glastonbury, and quite interesting, really hard for the authorities to um, control that because people are live streaming it out into the world. And it's very trickster energy as well. It's like nobody can really actually control this. And all these things are like tumbling into the world, causing masses of changes. And Donald Trump's tweeting away, not tweeting anymore, but whatever platform he's on. And yeah, so there's all kinds of scope for communication tensions there. The other thing that's really powerful is that Saturn and Neptune are now pretty much in conjunction. So um, Saturn, let me just look at my notes, is in 25 line 4, Neptune in 25 line 5. So these are really opposing kind of energies, or I won't say opposing because that's not quite the right term, like paradoxical maybe. Where Saturn contains and builds. It's like the building blocks of creation, especially at this position, 0 degrees Aries. This is a new beginnings. And what Neptune does is dissolve. So when these are together, they're quite tricky because, Saturn's building, Neptune's dissolving. It's actually quite like a hard time to start something new. Definitely requires a kind of level of surrender and really tapping into, what is the essence of universal love in what I want to create. Um, Maybe there's more of a push now for what we're creating to be aligned with higher frequencies. If we're working with higher frequencies, but for anyone creating anything, it's going to be kind of one step forward, 2 steps back as Saturn builds and Neptune dissolves. And people born at this time with this, or if you have this in your chart, it's a really tricky aspect because you always feel like you're just getting somewhere and then it like all vanishes, or you have a great idea and you begin to do something and then it's like it all sort of like fades away. So it's a hard energy in a way if you have it to work with personally, if you have that, and the babies born right now are gonna have this in their charts. So what's the benefit of it? Well, the benefit feels to me to be about alignment um, with much higher principles and frequencies, like almost surrendering to the ocean, the oceanic currents, the universal currents, and seeing what arises rather than trying to force your will onto things. Yeah, and I've had a story around that because having moved to Cornwall, I do gong baths. And it's taken 2 years, and I did a gong bath last week, but it's taken 2 years to really surrender into letting the universe guide rather than trying to make it happen. How I was doing it there, now I need to make it happen here. And there's all kinds of other people doing it. And where do I belong in that? And my head gets all involved. But actually, when I finally let go, the perfect place and opportunity has manifested for me. So I think this is what the benefit of this transit is working with that. Okay, so is there anything else that I want to share? Um, Outer planets. I think I've pretty much covered all of them. Yeah, okay. So Uranus covering the Pleiades. I didn't get time today to look up the stars of the Pleiades, but I think some of them are also asteroids. So I might look into that if I get time and see like which ones they are and stuff. Okay, so I'm going to come out of that. Um, yeah, so this is another level at which we could consider this is the gene keys. So this part of the zodiac between as Taurus changes into Gemini, if you've been on this journey with me, I've spent quite a bit of time tuning into this part of the zodiac because this is where Sedna made her ingress. I can't remember exactly when it is, like maybe about a year ago. And so, I was really curious, like what's going to happen when you switch from Taurus, Sedna, the goddess, the sea goddess, really representing this wounded, rejected part of self, the divine feminine as well. What will happen when she moves from earth into the air energy? And I had this vision of her coming up to the surface, like breathing in the air and the light and the bubbles, like a real liberation moment for Sedna. So here we have Uranus, and this is the Pleiades as well. So 28 Taurus to 0 Gemini is the Pleiades. So we have the stellar background to this as well. So so what we have in these last degrees of Taurus is gene key 8. I don't have this gene key. Well, I've got asteroids there, but not in my main profile. But I love this. I love this one. The shadow is mediocrity. The gift is style, and the city is exquisiteness. I always love that word, exquisiteness. And it's called the diamond of the self. And its programming partner, I really love these two together because the programming partner is compromise. So mediocrity and compromise. It's like we're just not being ourselves because of the pressures that are on us, peer pressure, parental pressure, cultural pressure, whatever it is that's pushing, it means we've made a choice not to live our truth, our integrity. And so as Uranus comes into the eight or pushing this liberation of the eight into the gifts of finding our own style, finding our competence in the world. I love that word, competence. It's like, yeah, if I'm in a really bad way, it's like, okay, I just need to be competent right now. And and that can really kind of bring me some stability. And then the city of the 14th is Bounteousness, and this is it's called radiating prosperity. So the diamond of self, radiating prosperity. Wow. It's interesting because I was really drawn to start reading the Diamond Sutra this morning, which I bought a while back. Um, I think it's time working with that diamond energy. Okay, so that's the eight. It's all about, these keys are all about really honoring our individuality, our journey in this incarnation, really honoring our own style, finding our own style and our competence. And then it moves, so Uranus will move as it goes into 0 Gemini. Zero Gemini is the 20th gene key. This is called the sacred arm, and it moves from superficiality to self-assurance and to presence. So I felt this was Sedna as she moved into presence. It was really, really powerful. And yeah, and she's still in that presence energy. She's a Jinky 20 line too. She moves very, very slowly. Um, so I think what I'd like to do is just invite us to actually feel into this etheric mystical diamonds. Okay, that's great. Yeah, I really feel like the diamond thing. It's like I got a really strong message. Read the Diamond Sutra this morning. So I'm gonna start doing it. And um, but let's take a moment to just kind of tune in together to this diamond energy. Let's take a few breaths together, breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. In through the nose, out through the mouth. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Bringing ourselves into resonance with each other. So let's just take a moment to feel ourselves as diamond, as many faceted, the immense pressures of life over many lifetimes, over this lifetime, pressure has kept purifying our being, pushing that energy, pushing. Diamond is formed under incredible pressure. So whatever we've been through, whatever pain and suffering in this life, in other lives, the pain and suffering we feel and see around us, just creating our intention that pressure create this deeper and deeper diamond light in us. And that within the diamond, there is this clearness, this clarity of being, so that all parts, all rejected parts, especially parts that are often in darkness, in the dark goddess mysteries, the parts that are really compromised and maybe just living out this mediocre existence because there's such a deep fear of being self, the rejection that could happen there. And yet I feel in all of us here, the power of the incarnation, the self will not die. The self, all ourselves are diamonds because we have transformed under that pressure. We cannot compromise. And so let us open to our exquisiteness. Breathe into that. Let's have 3 more breaths into our exquisiteness. Feel it deep in the heart. special nature of you. Breathing in and out. In and out. And tuning into this exquisiteness within ourselves and within each other. You know, when we can see another person's soul, their exquisiteness, we're a massive healing force for that person. Definitely see it in everyone here. And I know you see it in me. So we can just relax into that exquisiteness and allow it to become presence. You know, it doesn't have to be fought for, it doesn't have to be strived for. It's just about actually arriving in this 20th gene key, deep knowing, and the deep presence to be everything we are, to explore every single facet of our experience and of ourselves, no matter how frightening, repulsive, shameful it may at first appear. There is great treasure hidden in these places. Om Shanti. Om Shanti. Om Shanti. Coming one with the diamond light of creation. The sacred Om of the 20. So let's actually finish there with 3 sacred Oms. If you keep yourselves muted, otherwise we'll probably sound quite crazy. But just Omming in your own space. Just to really anchor us into presence and all of us as a field, radiating outwards, those who may watch later, those who may just come across this teaching, the sacred arm of the 20. So breathing in. Oh. 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 Let us receive from the Pleiades, from Uranus, into our bodies, this divine transmission, this liberation. this new horizon. May it be so. Amen. Hmm. Wonderful. So I'm going to stop recording and then we'll have a bit of sharing. Maybe sharing. Do you have anything, do you know in your chart in that part of the zodiac? Um, maybe you want to talk about how you're experiencing this outer planetary shift, or maybe things, we're all in different countries where different things will be highlighted. Are there any big communication issues going on with Pluto, Mercury? Um, yeah, so there's lots we could talk about then. And I see a few things in the chat, so I'm going to stop sharing and invite anyone else in to speak.